Trees for Yesha, the gift that keeps on growing. Planting a tree in Yesha is the perfect way to show you care. For $18 a fruit tree, you can show the Jews of Yesha that you stand together with them in these troubled times. Check out our website at treesforyesha.org.
Shalom and welcome to Israeli Salad. Again, we are here enjoying Israel's nature. We'll begin in just 23 seconds. Don't go anywhere. Hi everyone, we're sitting here near Ma'ayan Ami, the En Chashrat water spring, and this is where we'll begin our tour of Nachal HaShofet. The spring is named after Ami Barnea. Ami was a member of the Hazorah kibbutz, and he fell while serving in the army. Nachal HaShofet is located near the city of Yokneam in the Carmel area, and part of the stream actually goes through Kibbutz Hazorah. And it keeps on flowing. One of the very unique things about Nachal HaShofet, the Shofet River, is that throughout the whole year there's water here. Most of the rivers in Israel are dry in the summertime, but here there's water all year round. Throughout your walk through Nachal HaShofet, every few minutes you'll discover a new kind of scenery. That's why it's very important not to just walk through Nachal HaShofet, but to stop as many times as possible and to just sit down and enjoy this beautiful nature reserve. A visit to Nachal HaShofet is recommended to basically everyone, because you could decide if you'll have a long hike, a short trip, and there is even a pathway that is suitable for the handicapped. So we're almost at the end of the tour here, and we still didn't explain why this place is called Nachal HaShofet, the Shofet River. So the word Shofet in Hebrew means judge. This river was named in honor of Judge Louis Brandeis, who was a judge in the U.S. Supreme Court in the early 1900s, and he was a great Zionist leader. Here, near what's left of an ancient flour mill from the Ottoman period, that'll be all for now from Nachal HaShofet. We'll be back in the studio right after this.
Be sure to visit the Israeli Salad website. On the Israeli Salad site, scroll through all the editions, see what topics were presented on each program, and simply click on the icon to watch your favorite program. Also, Watch all our fantastic music videos featured right here on Israeli Salad. So be sure to click on www.israelnationaltv.com/salad.htm. That's www.israelnationaltv.com/salad.htm.
Welcome back. Some of you may have thought a river, it's barely a trickle, but here in Israel where there's no Nile or Mississippi and where water is scarce, for us, a small stream like this is a river. Okay, let's continue. What better occasion to learn about wine production in Israel than these days near the festival of Purim, as one of the traditions of Purim is drinking wine. Here's a visit to the Castel Winery, located on the hills of Jerusalem. To learn about the wine industry in Israel, I visited the Castel Grand Vin, a winery located in the Judean hills near Jerusalem. Around 15 years ago, prompted by intuition, Eli Ben Zaken planted a small vineyard beside his home.
Probably I wouldn't have started it if the kids were not interested. If you don't have the backup of a family which will continue the business, there's no point in starting.
The year 88 we planted a small vineyard at our backyard. The idea was to make some wine for the family, and between the chicken house and the horse stables we made the first wine. We made it the year 92 only 600 bottles, 2 barrels. And in 95 it was the first release of the 92 harvest.
2 bottles from the family's first harvest reached Serena Sutcliffe, head of the Sotheby's Auction House wine department in London. Serena tasted the wine and was satisfied.
She wrote us back a letter after she tasted the wines. She didn't know it was our first wine. And she wrote us a letter back saying that the wines are very, very good, and she's asking us to teach everybody in the Middle East to produce better wines.
So what's the secret? How do the Ben Zakens succeed in producing such high-quality wine? The first factor is the location. The landscape of the Judean mountains is not only breathtaking, but also has agricultural advantages.
We are located 700 meters high on the way from the Mediterranean Sea to Jerusalem, 10 miles west of Jerusalem. The ground is a terracotta ground with limestone. The area is a very breezy area. You can smell the sea here. There's a big change of daytime temperature to nighttime temperature, which is very good for the way of growing grapes.
The second factor which enhances the quality of the wine is the method of production. The Castel wines are made through high-density plantations and very low yields, like in the finest vineyards in the world. In most vineyards in Israel, there are around 220 vines per dunam, while in the Castel vineyards, on every dunam, there are around 660 vines.
You can see how close the vines from one to another and how the yields is low. You have around 7 batches to each vine. That's it.
Growing the grapes in high-density plantation causes the wine to be costly, but at the same time unique in its taste and aroma.
And because of the density, you cannot treat the vineyards with agricultural machinery. You have to do everything by hands. But because of that, it's much easier to make better wines. You can get very complex wines, very silky wines, what we are looking for.
The Castel Winery just recently started producing wine under kosher supervision. A kosher supervision is something necessary to succeed in the wine industry in Israel. Regarding the market outside Israel, with this supervision, the Castel wines will be able to be sold on kosher wine shelves in stores throughout the world. After all, the Jewish people use wine on many occasions.
Every Kiddush, every Friday, and in every holiday, you have to drink wine. In Passover, in all the holidays, you're obliged to drink wines.
Because it's miraculous, you know, you start with a fruit which has one taste, and you end up with a wine which has another taste, and which you can keep for a long time, and drink for a long time. It's part of the miracles of nature.
You know, when the Romans came to Israel, they began by planting vineyards, that people will know that they are coming to stay for a long time. And this is actually our Zionist vision of way of life in Israel. We have a business which is planned here to stay for many generations.
At this point, I want to make sure to clarify that because wine has a slow production process, today not all the Castel wines are kosher, and only the bottles with a kashrut symbol on them are kosher at this time. Okay, another aspect of Purim which actually goes with wine is the aspect of happiness. On our Hebrew site, inntv.co.il, we put together a parody on the Israeli media. So click on to watch our Purim Hebrew video segment.
Please send your comments, ideas, and questions to the Israeli Salad email, yoni@israelnn.com, or leave a message on the Israeli Salad voicemail at international dialing code 972-3918-5554. That's 972-3918-5554.
On Thursday, March 17th, a special event called Loving Jerusalem took place at the International Convention Center in Jerusalem. The event was organized by Tehillah Jerusalem Studios, Israel Channel 2, in cooperation with the Jerusalem municipality. A variety of Israeli musicians got together at this event to express their love for the Jewish nation's eternal capital.
As it says, Jerusalem, a city that is joined together. Everyone is here for Jerusalem, the best musicians, the best crowd. She deserves even more than that. This is how we express our love for the city. It's a great honor.
We're from Dimona, but Jerusalem is our home as well, and we're enjoying ourselves in the celebration.
Jerusalem is a melting pot, spiritually and socially.
It's my first time singing for Jerusalem, and it's awesome.
I love Jerusalem since I was small. I love the holiness of the city and the special atmosphere on Shabbat. I think there's nothing like this anywhere else in the world. When you come here, you feel a magical feeling. You could do something like this in any city, but Jerusalem is a city with a special charm and value.
Jerusalem for me, I would say more than home, and more than home is heaven. Don't you agree? All right.
On the day of the event, the Jerusalem municipality opened many of the tourist attractions in the city for free, showing their appreciation for the many visitors who visited the city on that day. And now our weekly insight. Last week, Rabbi Samson wasn't on our program, so this week we'll go through two parshas, portions of the week, the parsha of Tzav and the parsha of Shmini. Shalom, Rabbi Samson in Jerusalem.
Shalom, Yoni. Shalom to all of our viewers around the world.
In the parsha of Tzav, there is a lot of details about the korbanot, which are often translated as sacrifices or offerings. These korbanot were part of the rituals of the tabernacle and later on of the Holy Temple. What's the meaning of the korbanot? Does God need offerings from us, human beings?
Yoni, I think the best way to understand the concept of korbanot is by the following parable. If someone would say, well, why don't you bring some kind of a present to someone who has passed away and is now in the graveyard, it would seem so weird, odd, and out of place. And you say, well, why does somebody in the graveyard need a present? And there's really no reason bringing any kind of presents. However, it's someone who is very much alive and celebrating a birthday, the most obvious thing to do would be to come with a present, and no one would even think of coming to a birthday party empty-handed. Similarly, I think that God, as he is perceived in the proper perspective, seeing God as being alive, naturally demands not coming empty-handed, and the understanding of sacrifices and korbanot and the necessity of man to bring them all stems from a basic underlying understanding that God is alive. God doesn't need man's worship, but man needs man's worship. And the idea of the sacrifice is it's another way where mankind is able to come and attain divine cleaving with God. When you come to a birthday party of someone who has everything, you still bring a present, even though the person doesn't need it.
Now in the next parsha, Parshat Shmini, we read the painful story of the death of the two sons of Aaron, the high priest. It says that his sons, Nadav and Avihu, offered a foreign fire before God, and it's explained that they made an unauthorized sacrifice. What was so terrible with what they did? After all, they did this with the intention of worshiping God. And what do we learn from this story?
Well, first of all, the attitude has to be dealt with properly. It's not necessarily negative. It's actually very positive. Someone who says, I know how to worship God, and that there is such a concept, and that the temple has two fashions. One of it is man's worship, and the other is the divine providence that resides. And of course, there are prescribed prerequisites in order for the divine providence to properly reside in the temple. However, there is a concept that individuals can bring individual presents, and that there were certain presents that were brought to the temple that were not prescribed by anybody. And Nadav and Avihu is a very different kind of case. There are regulations, rules, instructions for use that have to be applied, and if you want the entire system to work, it has to be according to instruction. There's always room for individual initiative and endeavor within the scope of the general framework.
Thank you very much, Rabbi Samson.
The Weekly Insight is brought to you in cooperation with Machon Meir, the largest Zionist institute in Israel, bringing people closer to Judaism.
Okay, that's all for this week. Join us again next week for another edition. Until then, from all of us here at Israel National News, Shalom.
The Jewish Response to Missionaries. This is a powerful, new, and complete 18-part digitally remastered CD series or 24-part cassette series with 423 new pages, plus an in-depth study guide by Rabbi Tovia Singer, a must-have for any library collection. This outstanding commentary is available now for only $99 plus shipping and handling. Order online now at www.outreachjudaism.org or call toll-free 1-800-315-JEWS. That's 1-800-315-JEWS.